What's up, y'all? My name's Dana,
And I'm Nick.
and we are Sutton Place. And today we're going to be doing our first little tutorial on a new remix of ours. It is a song called Discontent by Proper Pet. And they're a band out of Phoenix, Arizona that we've been lucky to work with lately. So we're going to kind of showcase everything today, but we figured we kind of start out by hopping over to Spotify real quick and just kind of pulling up Proper Pet and showing you the original track that they shot over to us and thought would be a good track to start with. I don't know how loud it's going to be, so I'll turn it down at first. I'll skip a little bit.
You at the party, would you recognize me? Do I look the same as I did when I was on your feet? Gotta find a mirror, I'll post a picture now.
Vibe is great. I haven't listened to it in a while, so I forgot that her vocals
Incredible.
sound that high. But right here, you can see the credits right here. We got Zach and we got Abigail. Abigail's a singer, and they're just incredible. They make all sorts of music. Right now, they're like popping off. Their music was when we first were chatting with them around 14,000 monthlies. So they've been growing in like less than a month. They're at 17.4 now. But yeah, go check them out. They just came out with a new album not too long ago. Let's see, January 9th. So definitely check them out. We're gonna jump right in and just show you our remix. Um, I'll play a quick little clip, maybe of just that first part, not even the drop where her vocal was just playing, and then I'll pass it over to Nick to kind of explain how we started the remix.
If I see you at the party, would you recognize me? Do I look the same as I did when I was on your feet? Gotta find a mirror, I'll post a picture now you have to see. Cute drunk red at the party, I'm having fun, don't you believe me?
Quick little blast of the master, and Goose, go ahead and talk about how this started.
Yeah, so Dana actually he works with Abigail over at Just Merch, and usually he's running into a lot of artists while he's been working there. And I remember him reaching out to me saying that, he works with Proper Pet. He started sending me some of their music, and I was super stoked about that. Especially since I just love Abigail's voice. And I was super stoked when we found out that they wanted us to try and remix one of their tracks. So Dana kicked things off with this one for Discontent or Discontent, whichever way you want to say it. But he kicked things off and he wrote this bass line right here, this intro bass line, and kind of set up like the scene for the overall track. And I initially like latched right onto this bass line. So then if you just like want to play like the initial bass line. So the bass line at the beginning of the track is different than the bass line on the drop. So just like a good melodic bass line, and caught my ear right away. I wanted to keep it when he sent it over, and the first vision that I had with the track was thinking deep house, and kind of went directly with that into like the build into the first drop. So when we move over to the builds, I mean, we could probably focus more on the drop for now. It was really just working on this bass line and getting it to kind of groove, and really change up the pace of the, not necessarily fully change up the pace of the original track, but kind of make it, put a little bit of a Sutton Place touch on it with like our own deep house twist. So if you want to play like the drop,
Play a little bit before from the build.
So you can see like a handful of items on here, including vocal chops and sort of this groove element. So like one thing I really like to do with groove is extract certain grooves I like, whether it be from a loop that we're going to work off of, um, or if you're just kind of pulling it from like the groove bank in Ableton. Either way, I like using those and then throwing it down with some sort of maybe synth or perk or simpler on it, just to give the track an overall kind of feel. And so that was one cool element that I did toss on there for the drop that did help drive the groove on top of all the different percussions that are layered over it as well. So really kind of just messed around with that. And by the time I had kind of built out the first drop and the second drop, Dana hopped in here, and I know he messed around with a few more elements, including some stabs. Sometimes when I go a little too melodic on tracks too, Dana likes to scale it back a little bit, rightfully so, because sometimes there might be just like too much going on. So he really just dialed things in here on this, like when I sent it back to him, because for most of our best tracks, we usually work like one of us kicks it off, it's sent over to the next, and then it comes back and it's done. It's usually like three iterations total. So this one was super, super quick. So by the time it had gotten back to Dana, Dana could talk about some of the elements he had added in, and then maybe some of his mix tips, because Dana does a ton of, the mix downs and the more technical side of things. I should usually come in here. My mixes are all right. But I like to really like hone in on as much creative process as possible. So Dana usually closes out a lot of these projects too. So he can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the project is pretty much, when it came back from Goose, it's pretty much what it is. When we started off, we're not as like clean with the organization like you see here. We're pretty loose, and then I'll get it back and I'll group everything to start to mix a little bit. And because I've listened to the song so many times over, like at the point of us making it, yeah, I have to do some sort of like mixing on the project in order for me to like and see if there's any creative stuff, especially if the track's like very far along, how it already was. So a lot of times we're like focusing on the effects portion of things, on buildups and breakdowns, to make sure that things are flowing cohesively from a verse section to a break section to a build section into the drop. So tightening that up was important for me. Added like little texture things using the granulator, more sweeps, more risers, all that kind of stuff, but like very minimally. And then pretty key on this one was adding the stabs, like you said, just to make it seem a little bit more deep housey. Like the bass is already very deep housey, and I'll play that part that Goose did. Dope as fuck. And then that with the stabs here, I'll play those two together. And that really makes up like the drop elements that aren't drums. So it's very, very simple in that. And then like he talked about earlier, adding grooves to things. So he's got this sort of lead groove right here that plays in the background. And it kind of plays like a drum element, but I keep it separated from the drums because I want to treat it almost like a synth. But that's sort of the lead groove part. It's pretty subtle, and then we also have background vocals going on at the same time on the drop, so I'll play those separate. That was the original one. See, Goose sent this back with this vocal here, and I took it out and added the stabs. We love doing the vocal chops. But yeah, we ended up taking these out. So it's really just this, and then the really cool echo vocals right here that like kind of delay and pan. Let's see those. And those just kind of come in at the end of each 8-bar loop, so like 2 bars worth. And that's really that. I mean, playing all those things together. Let's see, get the video in my way. So we'll play the vocals, we'll play this lead groove. We'll pretty much play everything without the drums for now, and I can maybe add the kick in. I also got these effects down here. So that part's important, and then all you need is your little kick here, and boom. And then, yeah, I kept the percussion section sort of out because it's such a big monstrous portion. And yeah, I mean, we have the original drums, which I'll talk about the stems and how we sort of got the stems and then imported them in a moment. But yeah, the drum sections here, I mean, for us is all about just layering things and getting things to a point that we're both really happy with. And that's really that. I mean, we don't harp too much on the drum sections like and lose our mind about it. We found a few good rhythm loops. Like this one really drives the whole track, and Goose kind of made sure to like tell me to like keep this part in the song more because it's kind of the leading groove. Like a SpongeBob jellyfish jam loop. And then we got just a bunch of stuff layered on top of that. And then an added shaker loop, and then the original drums and another perk groove. So all the drums together would sound like this. And so this original drum stem that we got for them, I kind of just left as it was, didn't do any like EQ or anything to scoop out low frequencies. I just sidechained instead. So that's where that kind of boom is coming from. And it kind of sounds like a really soft tom almost, or just another groove element. So just a lot of groove things going on. And then an added shaker loop coming in on the back half of the 16 bars. And yeah, I mean, let's see, other sections that would be important to talk about. We didn't veer off that much on the second drop at all. We really kind of value making these like bridge sections that come after the drop, making them sound good. Otherwise, we kind of just get rid of them in most of our tracks because they kind of turn out a little boring sometimes because you don't want to do too much in the mix, but you want to allow a little space for the DJs to mix out of it. So this is definitely one section, and he did this awesome the pan vocal thing that a lot of people really loved when we showed him the demo. So I'll just kind of play that part. And then back into what would be the second verse. And yeah, I mean, that's most of the track. Just kind of to wrap it up with showing you the song, I'll play from the second build up to the second drop, and then we can see if Goose wants to talk about anything inside the track, and then we can talk about how we imported the stems and our sort of approach initially off the bat.
Attention and you won't get All of this confidence.
Right there, I totally forgot about adding that dope part of the lead guitar. So
Mhm.
Zach is a ripping guitar player in Proper Pet, and he had a lot of really cool guitar parts in this track that we tried to utilize, but it was really kind of tough because we don't work with it all that often, and we're as good as musicians as we are, we're not musicians like Zach. So we're trying our best to work with the stems, and just kind of fit them in where they can. And this second part, this second build, seemed like a good place to add the original keys, the original guitar, and I even added the original bass to kind of just separate the track from what normal house music would sound like. There's not always that many organic sounding elements in the tracks, and this was our opportunity to do it. So I'll just kind of highlight his guitar part real quick, and the keys and the bass part.
Just keeping it interesting.
And it works well for us because it just kind of repeats, and we can fit it in with the already existing things we have in there. And I just love how it sounds. So yeah, that's all I can really say about the track right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, it was just extremely fun to work on. Dana and I are huge advocates for not overworking a track. So whenever we're collaborating, obviously the original had so many incredible elements to it already. So we did our best to, really emphasize a lot of those elements and then paint a good picture around it using our style, and then obviously making it into a house track. So really overall, from a collaboration standpoint, again, seamless and just a good time.
Yeah, super seamless, super easy. We made a radio edit version inside of here because, for us, we do love radio edits and the extended versions. So that is something that we did inside the project. The extended starts all the way back here, radio edit starts all the way up here, extended ends all the way out here, the radio edit ends here. So we do that inside the project. We're starting to do it more. We're starting to incorporate that more because more people are wanting to play our tracks out. We're obviously trying to play our tracks out. But yeah, like you said, we're just not ever trying to overwork anything. And it literally took me doing the bass line, kind of setting the track up for Goose by importing the stems into here, and him kind of going from there. I have the original stems inside the project right here. So typically when you get stems from somebody, I would throw it into the project right away, meaning like the project folder, just so you have them right there. And what you can do is kind of just grab this first one, and you can grab all of them by holding shift, drag them in, and then click command, or I think it would be control on PCs, and it'll import the stems all at once onto all different tracks. So basically I would do that, and then I would run through, I think, let's do this. I'll do this in a new project real quick, just so I can show. Let's jump in. I got the stems already right here. So yeah, if you're pulling them in from Finder, any sort of thing like that, I don't know what it is for PC. Same thing, you can hold shift, bring them in here, and then hold command or control, and it'll bring them all in. So I would go through and I would start labeling, bass, drums. I would do it all. Ideally, they have exported the stems so that it starts right at the beginning. All of the stems start right at the beginning and they all finish at the very same end mark as well. So that's something to look out for. And then another thing you can do is go ahead and listen through. I can already see that he has one that's keys plus bass. So I want them separate. So I'll turn that one off or just deactivate it right here. And then we have the keys right here and we have the bass up here. And then he's also got drums 1 and drums 2. I think drums 2 might have had like a bass in it or something. Might just be a more compressed version of yeah, it's sort of just a more compressed version of them, and so I can kind of choose which one I want. I think I just chose the drums 1, and same thing, I'll just kind of deactivate that, and then you can go through, play it all at once just to hear if it is everything it's supposed to be, even though this is labeled keys, that there's no bass in it, you know, or there's no vocals on top of it. You want to kind of play through and make sure that the stems are what they say they are, and they all kind of play through. Ideally, you'd get the BPM ahead of time. I think this one, I can't remember the BPM, 110 or something like that. And I'll turn these down as well. Zach likes to crank his masters. And so these were bussing when we got them. Skip out of the vocal part.
If I see you at the party, would you recognize?
Yeah, so it sounds like those are playing all good. And so that's just how I would set up the project right there with the stems. And in this case, I would need to know the BPM. I think it was like 110. Was it 120? Yeah, it actually might be 120. So I would find that first sort of part, drag it out a little bit in case I want to add some intro stuff. Yeah, I think it actually might be 120. Perfect. So I can highlight all these stems, double click on one of them, holding shift. I want to warp them, throw it on Complex Pro so that now I can adjust and change the BPM how I want. So let's jump it up really fast just to hear how it sounds.
If I see you at the party, would you recognize?
Sounds cool. And then once again, I'll highlight all of them and I can change the pitch then. And we'll play from this part where the vocal.
If I see you at the party, would you recognize?
So I'll just kind of run through and see what pitch I like. And in the case of our track, I'll jump back in there real quick. And I only pitched it down 1. And then that meant I have to pitch down everything else. I don't know that I pitched down the drums. I'm not sure if that matters as much unless there's a lot of tonal elements inside of the drums. I can kind of look and see. I might have just for cohesiveness. No, it looks like I just left them regular, and then let's see if I double click on here, boom, I put it down 1. I like to put it on complex sometimes more than I like to put it on Complex Pro, because complex you can really hear the difference when you're going up and down in pitch. If you have it on Complex Pro, it's more natural and like sort of intuitive and keeps it sounding like the original more. So I like using complex, so it sounds a little bit more drastic. And yeah, pitch your vocal down 1. Looks like I froze that one or consolidated it. There we go. Push it down 1 right there. And when I originally sent the first version of the remix to Abigail, she was a little taken back about hearing her vocal pitch down 1, but that was just kind of explaining to them and explaining to her that that's just how it goes sometimes in the remix world. And as much of a collaborative process as it is working with them, of course, we want their feedback. That is something that you can expect to find from me and Goose. We'll definitely kind of try to mangle sounds and pitch them up and down to hear what we like best. And that's just what happened in this song. But I mean, that's really all I got, man. I don't know if you got anything else you want to mention about the track.
No, not necessarily. I'll just say on the topic of, you know, expert on the topic of importing stems and any sort of collaboration you're doing with another artist, we could kind of talk about how we collaborate, Dana and I. So the way we do it is through saving projects. Well, I save to my desktop because I've had issues
Same.
collecting all and saving in like documents or any other sort of
Yeah.
file location. But we usually collect all and save like a new project to our desktop. We zip it up and we like to use WeTransfer. So WeTransfer gives you a certain amount of days to download a file, and it tells you if the recipient downloaded it or not. So that's kind of nice if you're collaborating with someone you haven't collaborated with before, because you'll be able to see like, hey, they downloaded it. They're hopefully they're gonna start working on it soon. But also it kind of just erases your project from just floating around, which is cool too. So yeah, Dana and I've been doing that, and our whole workflow process is extremely quick. So I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you
mean, it's
just want
important
to
for
touch
us
on that.
to have the same Ableton. We both have Ableton 11. So it obviously makes it way easier for us to send these whole projects, like the stems we got from them. It's because Zach has Logic. So it's a blessing and a curse getting them like that. It makes it easier for us to mess around and mangle them, like I was saying. But at the same time, if we want to get more into the nitty gritty of how we mix and do creative things so that we can learn from each other, it's best that we have the same DAW to work in, especially since we're apart. So it kind of feels like we're working together when we can just kind of send each other the same Ableton 11 project file. And like you said, we both save it to our desktop. We zip it up. We hold on to the zip until the other person downloads it. That way, if a week goes by because we're working on a bunch of other stuff, we can kind of just throw that zip file back in there. And then, like you said, it kind of just disappears from the ether. So it's not taking up any space on our Google Drive or our Dropbox or anything like that. And yeah, if I can kind of tell it's going to be towards the end of the project, I save multiple project versions in there. Um, but like you said, when we do send it back to each other, save a whole new version. We say, version 4. And that's really that. And super simple. It's not as easy working with other people. But me and Goose have definitely figured out our way of doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I think that's probably it. I mean, we're pumped. We're dropping this next week, so March 1st, 2024. So we're excited to be dropping this, and hopefully you all learned a little bit of something from this video, whether it be, just about how to work with a remix, or, if you're collaborating with other artists as well. Feel free to drop any sort of comment in the comments box if you're looking for any other type of videos you'd like us to make as we go forward, because we definitely want to continue to push some content out there and just show what our creative process looks like, and help people out there in the community.
Yeah, that's really that. I agree. Ditto on all that. We'll try our best to continue to do these videos, hopefully once a week on a Sunday, and continue to talk through our way of doing things, how we like to do things, and anything we can learn from anybody who watches these videos. That'd be great. Feedback, like you said, and questions would be wonderful, so we can, get better as producers and be able to share the wealth of knowledge that we've gotten from working with each other and our mentors as well. Shout out also, I forgot to shout out to Oddmob, because he did the master on this, which you kind of heard just kind of my master on it. So when it comes out, it's going to sound even more fire because the GOAT worked on it for us, and will continue to work for us. So anyway, I'm Dana,
I'm Nick.
and we'll see you next time.